Let's listen to Swami Kriyanandaji for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then we'll begin the talk.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Matrirupena Sanstita Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha. I bow to the Divine Mother in all nature, in all of you. You know, living for God isn't all just roses and peaches. Living for God can be also very stern. Because the choice is absolute. It's either joy or not joy, which is sorrow. And it's not fun and games only. Yes, it's joy. But there has to be a certain sternness. This is what we lived and learned in the presence of our Guru. You couldn't jolly him along when it came to principles. He was very steady, very, yes, stern sometimes. And I admired that. There was a beautiful saying. It's number 17 in this book, Conversations with Yogananda. One of the younger monks pleaded with the master to give him the vows of brahmacharya, renunciation. Several others joined him later in the brief ceremony. The master was clearly not happy about it. You must take this vow very seriously, he said. Remember, God is here. He is listening to you. Some of you will fall when you break this vow because you took it here today. All the forces will be upon you. The responsibility is yours, not mine. Don't take this event lightly. Please, heed what I say. The master saw those vows, in other words, as more than a mere affirmation. Spoken before him and administered by him, they had the power either to uplift or destroy. Destroy not in an eternal sense, to be sure, but in the sense of attracting great suffering to the failed disciple. One thinks, however, of that young man, which I didn't read that story, but he had him repeat his vows more than once, knowing that he would break them. Was it in reaffirmation of vows he had already taken earlier? Or was the master trying to hold the disciple to a soul commitment, hoping that it would be reawakened years later? Sister Gyanamata, the master's most advanced woman disciple, once stated in a letter that a master doesn't try to spare his disciples suffering if it can be a means eventually of helping them toward their ultimate attainment of God. You know, that's a strange thing, because you think, well, the Guru has come to spare us suffering. Yes, he has, but sometimes, like a doctor, he has to submit you to pain in order to cure you of pain. And so the Guru sometimes allows you to go through suffering. I have been through many, many tests in my life. They've caused me much suffering. But I have to say that I was grateful for them. Every time I found in the end that they were for my blessing. I went through a great period of pain one time, and Ananda Ma, the great woman, Bengali saint, she said, take this as your Guru's blessing. She sent this in a letter to me in America. And I thought, blessing? That's the one word I can't understand in this context. But you know, years later I realized it was the greatest blessing that could have come. If you don't let yourself just fall apart underneath your tests, if you say, all right, I accept it, and you don't understand it, then just go along with it. Accept what God gives you. Don't rail against him. Don't say God is unjust. How often have I heard that expression? Why does God do this to me? Why does God do that to them? There's a reason. You know, one very interesting thing is that of all the people who have found God, you don't find one of them saying, what a scam. They all say it was worth it. They've all had to go through sufferings. They've all had to go through pain, grief, torment. Yes. That's life. Where there is life, there will be pain and there will be happiness. But those who have accepted it find that if they endure, if they keep their faith, at the end, this is the wonderful thing I've discovered, and I've had a few years of living on the path, 55, that's not many years in eternity, but in a person's life, it's a fair amount. I can say without any equivocation at all that every single test I've endured, and some of them were fierce, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what I learned. I'm grateful for the strength I gained. I'm grateful for the joy I felt at the end of them, and finally I reached the point where even during the tests I felt joy, because I saw that I knew God was there. I knew He was having His fun with me, but you might say, what a bizarre sense of humor. Yeah, sometimes it seems that way, but in the end you find that you're not laughing, not being laughed at, you're laughing with Him. It was all great fun. You needed the tests in order to grow. You needed the hardships in order to become strong. Without them, you know, as my master used to say, that a boxer doesn't become strong by boxing babies. He becomes strong by boxing other strong men. You become strong by facing your tests. Don't fade under them weakly. And don't say, oh, it's all so horrible. God is so mean to me. God doesn't change. He's not going to say, oh, well, if you like it, then I'll just try to be. You'll find that He can be somewhat ruthless sometimes. Yes, He treats you a little bit like a baby because that's what you are. That's what we all are. But still, he when people tell me, oh, Master's so good to me, he got me a new apartment, I think that's a lot more. He's got a lot more to give you than new apartments. He can give you nice things, yes. You'll find that in many ways He helps you in.
Such wonderful words from Swamiji. I remember hearing the story of Master with one disciple, as Swamiji was saying there, that people like to be treated sometimes like a baby, like they're just not, don't test me, no, I don't want to go through that. And there was one disciple who Master actually publicly called his baby. And he said, oh, I'm babying him. And he said, oh, you don't mind me saying that, do you? And the disciple said, no, Master, I don't mind. And this is it just shows the Master was trying to get him to come out of that thought of weakness, of I can't do it, oh, don't test me. And many people, they think that the spiritual path is just, as Swamiji is saying, it's just going to be wonderful. There'll just be rose petals all the way down the path. But everybody I've met who's been on the path for some time, and I know people who've been on the path for 50 years, they've gone through enormous tests, but they're strong in themselves. They can go through anything. Like Yanamata said, your religion will be tested in the cold light of day. And everything that you have learned, everything that we're doing every day with energization, Hatha Yoga, Ananda Yoga, affirmations, healing prayers, Mahamudra, Kriya, all these things, why have we learned them? We've learned them so that we can stand unshaken, as Master said, amidst the crash of breaking worlds. And I think of Master, he was just so solid, so magnetic and powerful. And you probably have seen, you can look at it online, this footage of him in New York City walking down the street there with some of the disciples. And he's just very powerful. And obviously, this man is very different from other people. Obviously, he has an inner life. And when Master would come onto his stages to speak, he would run out often onto the platform with his hair streaming back, and he would shout out to people, how feels everybody? And you know, I'm from America, and I know Americans are very skeptical and impersonal, and for him to be able to get them to shout out awake and ready, that's quite something. And he would play the harmonium, and have people chanting, and some of the people he knew said, don't play the harmonium, they won't sing. He said, they're gonna sing. His magnetism and his inner strength got people exercising, singing, chanting along with him, meditating, shouting out, "I'm awake and ready." And he would test his strength. He would show people, and he would say, if you could take just a pinch of your flesh and explode the atoms in that flesh, you'd be able to light a city like the size of a city like Chicago for an entire week. But people feel so weakened. They can't get off the couch. I can't do anything. Oh, I meditate 10 minutes and that's enough. Well, it's just not enough. And Master would show, he would bring up people on the stage. One time he had 6 big policemen come up and test his strength. And so he stood there, his back up against the wall, and he said, push as hard as you can, push as hard as you can. And they kept pushing. He said, that's all you can do. And then at a certain point, he put his energy out, and all of those policemen fell into the orchestra pit. He had so much power, and he wanted to show them, you have that same strength. One time he was in a park, I think it was in Chicago, and at night, and he was going in, and some police officer said, oh, don't go in there, it's dangerous. And he says, I'm not afraid, I'm going to watch the moon rise. And so he goes in, he's sitting on a bench, and one fellow comes over and he sees this person. It seems like he's just kind of, maybe isn't that strong. And he says, okay, he comes over to rob him and says, give me a dime. And Master goes, okay, I'll give you a dime. He says, give me a quarter. He says, oh, I'll give him a quarter. Give me 50 cents. And the Master could see where this was going. The Master said, give me $1. And Master got up, he says, get out! And the man just ran out of the park. And then he said, I just sat back down and enjoyed the moonrise. And then when he left, the policeman said, where did you do that, man? We're even afraid of him. The Master said, oh, we just had a little understanding. And this energy comes to you, and this magnetism and God's power comes to you. And how does it come? It comes through sadhana, it comes through prayer, it comes through energization, yoga, it comes through kriya, it comes through mahamudra, it comes through seva, it comes through satsang, it comes through all the things that Master has given to us, but we have to practice them. And I was thinking that we have to have gain our own strength. That tests come, they come to everyone. I've been through many tests in my life, but I'm still very strong, stronger than ever. And this is the thing. People think, oh, I'll just be weighed down and I'll get weaker and weaker. Tests get you stronger if you go through them right. You get stronger and stronger and stronger. And so Master went through many tests. When he went to America, at a certain point, he wrote to Rajasi and said, if it hadn't been for you and a few others, I'd never go back to America. I mean, he had many tests there. He didn't have money. He had people betraying him. He had lawsuits against him. He had many things that happened. His legs were paralyzed at a certain point. That the ashram, he had to get all those ashrams set up himself. And one point they were out of money. I believe it was at Mount Washington, and they had to plant tomatoes and eat tomato soup and tomato stew, and they just couldn't do anything else. And someone asked him, what are the assets of this organization? He said, none, God alone. And that's the devotee's mantra, none, God. I believe in God. God is giving me strength. God is giving me answers. God is giving me guidance and telling me what to do now. And Swamiji went through many tests, founding Ananda. I was saying yesterday, he was in and out of the hospital so many times with so many health difficulties. He had to purchase the property. He had to give classes every night of the week to be able to pay for the property. He had people coming and going who weren't even interested in the path that he had to work with. The whole community burned down. And there are so many things. I love Jyotishji's what he said to Daviji after their house burned down. During that time, 21 of the 22 homes burned down. Now those people got strong, at least the ones who stayed there. And Jyotishji said to Daviji afterwards, because they had been having leaks in their dome where they lived, he says, well, at least we don't have to worry about leaks anymore. That's the Ananda spirit. Always find something positive, find something uplifting to say. And there's that beautiful picture of Nai Swami Asha where she's carrying out, burned tree branches and all, just clearing the place where it was burned at a certain area. I don't know if it was where it was exactly, but down at Ananda village. But just a beautiful smile on her face. And I was telling someone the other day, maybe we're online now. Yes, we are online. Maybe we can't be together. Maybe everything is changing in this world around us. But one thing hasn't changed, and that's the smiles of the devotees, of the disciples, because we live inside, because we're being blessed by our masters no matter what happens, because we're still practicing. And that's the thing. I was at Ananda village early on, and this was in the late 70s, early 80s. And I went there. I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything. But I just knew I just couldn't live that life again anymore. I just couldn't go back to that life. And it wasn't a bad life, but it wasn't my life. And I remember leaving home, and my whole family was crying, and please don't go, don't go. And I just can't stay here. I have to go. And when I got there, I lived after the tent episode, which I told you before, I moved indoors, and I lived in just a little cabin. There was one other girl there, and we were on bunk beds, I remember. And this girl, she was more from the city than I was. I mean, she had her makeup bag, and she was very beautiful, and so she was on the top bunk, I remember. And every morning, I mean, we had to get up early. It was cold. It might have been snow on the ground. I don't recall exactly, but I remember this girl, every morning, her mantra was, I hate getting up. Don't you just hate getting up? I hate getting up. It was like 5 in the morning. Now, I didn't like getting up. I didn't hate getting up. And there we were, energizing in the freezing cold. And it was tough. And at a certain point, I said, I'm tired of being enthusiastic, positive, enthusiastic, and all of that. I want to get out of here. So I just got in my car and I drove back home. And I just thought, no, that's too tough for me. I don't have the strength to be like those people at Ananda. And I got back to my home. It was nice and cozy, and the friends, and the warmth, the familial warmth, the family, and all that. And nobody knew if I was meditating or not, or energizing or not. At Ananda, I was in an apprentice program, and you were checked up on. So I got there, and what happened? My life just started going down. I don't think I was energizing at all, but I was barely meditating. I remember I had a picture on the wall of Master. It fell off. The glass broke across his face. I went, oh God, that's not a good omen. The Guru's picture breaking. And then I had a mala for Kriya, and that broke, and the beads fell on the floor. I said, oh no, these aren't good signs. And I was hanging by a thread. It was 3 years. 3 years, I was sinking. And by God's grace, Master's grace only, did I come back. It was finally, I could hear him saying, what are you doing? This is so unbecoming of you. You're a spiritual warrior. Get up and fight. And I just could barely hear him. And I didn't hear a voice. It was like I just felt this. And I went back to Ananda. And I thought nobody would remember me. And they said, no, we remember you were here before. What are you doing now? I said, oh, now I'm doing this and this. What are you doing, Dhyana? And that's the thing. Ask yourself, what are you doing? And then I finally came back. And here's the thing. We have to strengthen ourselves. Master said 25%. You have to do it yourself. Guru can't do it. God can't even help you if you don't help yourself. Master gives you 25%, his good karma. He said, I'll give you lots of my good karma. The Divine Mother's grace is 50%. And Master told one disciple, he said, Master, I can't do it. You're a master. He says, what do you think made me a master? I did it. I'm doing it. And another one who said, I can't do it, Master. You can just see without your blessing. I love it. Master said, listen, my blessing's there. God's blessing is there. Where's your blessing? And we have to put out that energy. I remember I was living while I was thinking different things that we need to really strengthen ourselves. And one is sadhana. You have to have a strong sadhana. If you don't have a strong sadhana, it's not going to work. There was, I believe it was a story of Ananda ji, who he told one disciple to get up in the mornings at 4. And I know 4 sounds like, oh God, I never get up at 4. I never thought I would get up early either, but now it's so easy. He said, get up at 4 and meditate. And every morning, just like 10 minutes before, she would hear the sound of like the wooden sandals, like he would be coming to wake her, just the sound of those sandals coming to the door. And then okay, I'm getting up. And then that went on for some time, every day. Okay, I'm getting up. And then finally she said, oh, no, I don't want to get up. So then that sound stopped. He stopped coming. And this is the thing we have to remember. We have to put out the energy for sadhana. If it's so wonderful in the mornings, the birds aren't even singing at 4. They're not even up. It's just so quiet. If you can get up early, Swamiji said, put the alarm clock across the room so you have to get up. Turn that thing off. And I remember someone who was in one of the ashrams, and this person said, oh, Dhyanji, I can't get up, but I'm willing if you help me. And I said, okay, I'll help you. I'll come knock on your door. And I said, when I knock on the door, I'll say Jai Guru. And that means you say Jai Guru from in the bed, and that means you're going to get up and just, okay, Jai Guru. So I came one day, Jai Guru, and she, Jai Guru from inside. She comes to the sadhana. Next, Jai Guru, she comes to the sadhana. Next day, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. I said, uh-oh, it's getting soft. After a couple of days, I go, Jai Guru, she said, Jai. I said, I'm not coming back. You have to put out the energy yourself. I remember living in Ananda, San Francisco house, and we would go through the halls. I just loved and just chant, master's chants, as Swami Sri Jasraji's chants. And one, I just loved to chant it. Oh, my saint, wake yet wake. You did not meditate, you did not concentrate. You passed your time in idle words. Death will be at your door and you won't have time anymore. Wake. And so we wake everybody up, and so people were typically happy that we woke them up, but I think that was a 5 a.m. sadhana, and people would barely make it down the stairs. I remember many people were sleeping for some time, I think, at that sadhana because it was so early. I remember one boy, to a friend, he just went and got this bucket of water and just threw it on his head because the guy was sleeping in the sadhana. But I remember afterwards, one person was so mad at us because we woke them up. They threw the shoe at the door. Leave me alone. And that's what you have. You have that part of you, just leave me alone. Am I not fine the way I am? Am I not happy? I'm happy, aren't I? Well, no, you're not happy. And no, you're not fine. And you have to strengthen yourself to get up and meditate. Do energization at least twice a day. I'm on at least twice a day. And energization breaks instead of the chai break. Well, give me the bed chai. Give me the afternoon chai. Give me the nighttime chai. People are addicted. Get addicted to energization. Get out there and do it. I know people doing 3 and 4 times a day. You don't want to get ill? Do energization. You don't want to feel low, heavy, moody? Do energization more. And I know these young people were telling me they're doing 3 times. I said, they're not going to show me up. I'm going to do it at least twice a day. And so doing your sadhana, keeping that strong. And then also keep some time when you're meditating long, once a week, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, however much time you can do it. And I remember again, this group who was with us, and they said, oh no, Dhyanji, we're going for God. We want to meditate long on Saturday mornings. I said, okay, I'm with you. I just loved it. So here comes the day, and I'm there, and I look around, and there's nobody there. And it was the God Alone group. And I said to them the next time, they were all sheepish. Oh, we're so sorry we didn't come. And I said, listen, this is God. We said God alone, but I'm alone. Nobody's coming. And here's the thing. If you say you're going to do it, get up and do it. Do it. And if you start that habit, I used to get up early on when I first started on the path. I heard masters say you've got to meditate longer. I did every week. Friday nights, long meditation, Saturday morning, from the time I got up to noon, which was 5-6 hours or something. I couldn't meditate well. I didn't even have Kriya most of that time. I would chant, I would read, I would do yoga. The next thing is get a harmonium, start chanting, get the chants, chant along. I know people who never could play the harmonium and they couldn't sing one note, but now they're singing beautifully. And I remember a difficult time in my life, the only thing that helped me was chanting. I would just cry on the harmonium, chanting those songs, calling to God. And I got deeply helped from that. So that also is important. And be with positive people. Get on, watch these programs. There's so many programs all week, all day, all week long. If somebody's down and out, it's your own fault. There's no excuse anymore. And I was laughing with the group the other day because we have these things online. And I said to them, how can you be late at your own house? Honestly, you just have you and the computer in your own house. And so make the time and come and get inspired. And finally realize that it's up to you to change the course of your thoughts, change your energy, change your magnetism, change your inner strength, and keep going no matter what. I remember Master said one thing, everybody's on the spiritual path. He said, some people are racing, some people are jogging, some people are walking, and some people are running, but backwards. You don't want to run backwards. You want to keep going no matter what. And I know one person, Master told him, he said, if you leave the path now, it's going to be 200 lifetimes? Good God. Until you come back to this point in your spiritual evolution. And the man left. That's a heavy karma. And to another person, he said, this person, he said later, if she had stayed 24 more hours, she would have finished that karma forever. It's like pulling a nail out of a board. You don't know how far out it is. And then you leave in the middle. You could just be pulling that right out. And so finally, I'll end with this beautiful story of a disciple, Horace. And Horace Gray was his name. And he had multiple sclerosis. And, he could barely walk, barely talk. Master said he's nearly fully liberated because of his devotion. So one day, another disciple was walking by, and Master and Horace was there. And they thought, why doesn't Master heal him? He sees a man needs help. Why doesn't he heal him? And Master caught that thought. And Master said, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful that he's working out the karma that got him into that situation of this body? He's working it all out in this lifetime. Isn't it wonderful? And I think we should just have that thought, like a mantra. Isn't it wonderful? Divine Mother's giving us all the karma we need to get free. Master's helping us to get free. Isn't it wonderful? Instead of, why is God doing this to us? Why is it doing it to me? Why is it? I remember Swami Kriyanandaji said that once to me when I was saying, oh, Swamiji, I just don't know if I can make it. He said, what is it, the pain? I said, I can't take the pain. And he said, Dhyana, look what it takes to find God. And boy, did I straighten up. And he said, look what I've had to go through. You'll be fine. Have that in your mind. Strengthen yourself, body, mind, and soul. And everything you need will come to you. And hopefully in this lifetime, we can not just fix up the mud puddle, we can get out of the mud puddle. God bless you.